Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to do an update to a video I did a couple weeks ago, which was titled, My Fiancée Left Me for My Uncle, Now She's Begging Me to Take Her Back. And guys, as a quick recap, in that story, it was about a guy who, he shared his story about how he had this girlfriend for a number of years. I think before college, then during college, and eventually became his fiancée. And during the years of college and all that, she really became a giant pain in the ass, to pretty much hit the nail right on the head. Nagging him all the time, giving him a hard time, nagging about losing weight, making more money, this, and this. And don't get me wrong, those things are good for people to do, but basically the whole relationship became a big bunch of drama. And the problem was, this guy, unfortunately, he never stood up for himself and drew a line in the sand and said, cut the crap or I'm out of here. And he was just very compliant and obedient to all her demands. And no matter what he did, he couldn't make her happy. Imagine that. Even to the point that she would just break down and cry, and I don't understand myself, and blah, blah, blah. And I made it clear he should have broken up with her, but he didn't. Eventually they get engaged, which was another dumbass thing. Long story short, he eventually finds out that she's having an affair with his uncle. His uncle, who I believe is in his late 50s, very wealthy, helped her get a job somewhere with a politician, because this guy's wealthy, so he obviously works as a politician. And so this guy's obviously really hurt and destroyed, but eventually he moves on, which is awesome. This girl gets together and marries the uncle, and this guy moves ahead. He focuses on his purpose, his career in finance, and is moving up in the world, doing really well. And then guess who comes back to contact him when things aren't going too well? The ex-girlfriend. And she's literally begging him to take her back and blah, 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 because his uncle, who's a scumbag, got some 17-year-old girl pregnant, right? And this girl's having a meltdown, and this guy says, nope, no way, no how. So I'm going to get an update here as to, he's going to first respond to a bunch of questions that I had as well as other guys had in the comment section, and then providing an update as to how things have progressed after I did the video. So it starts off, he says, hello again, SSM. Thank you for sharing my story on your channel. Your words to me were harsh, but you were right. I did appease Sam back then. And then once again, I felt weak and brought Sam to my condominium out of pity when in fact she didn't deserve any. At the end of the story, she ran into him and he brought her back to his place to talk, which I said was a bad mistake. After emailing you, I had a lot of self-realizations about my life, and I'm now striving harder to improve as a person and become a strong, successful male. Good, bro. But you know what? You're doing a hell of a good job. Ever since your breakup with her, you focused on your purpose, you're making good money, moving up in your company. You're doing awesome. Just keep on doing what you're doing. I will not make the same mistakes again. I want to personally give you and your audience my gratitude for helping me realize that. You're welcome. And guys, again, for all of you that commented, thank you for your help. We're all helping each other out here on this channel. I want to give you an update of my current situation and hopefully answer some of your questions that you asked in your last video, as well as the other people who wanted to know more about me. For starters, I live in Southeast Asia. Forgive me, but I want to stay anonymous, so I won't say the name of my country, but just know that corruption is rampant here. My uncle was a real estate attorney that he pivoted into a career in politics. He has 3 children, and his wife died due to an illness just 2 years before marrying Sam. Sam is his ex-girlfriend from the other video. Most of my other aunts, uncles, and cousins are not financially stable and aren't very responsible with money, but since my uncle is very wealthy, they stay loyal and subservient to him to keep up their lifestyles. So a bunch of leeches. But you, my man, are making your own life. You are carving your own path in this world, making your own wealth, so you don't have to be like the rest of your loser family, no offense, but they are, and have to kiss your uncle's ass to have that lifestyle. You're your own man. Good for you. As for Sam, her mother was a serial cheater, and her dad worked 6 days a week on a boat. They were relatively wealthy until they got their marriage annulled. Divorce is not currently legal in my country, so this separation rocked Sam's world to the core due to the extreme changes she had to go through. Her father disappeared without a trace once the separation was final and left her and her mother near poverty. I mentioned in the other video that the girl obviously has daddy issues, hence she, in a college age, got together with his uncle, who's in his late 50s. Daddy issues. Eventually, her mother did remarry, but she focused on her new family, leaving Sam with literally no one else but me during that time. I became her support system and family after that, but I had known she was just going to betray me and throw me away. I would have left her suffer alone. It just baffled me back then on how someone I had loved and supported through the worst of times could just ruin my life without any remorse. But thanks to your channel, I know better now. Yeah, this guy, right here, he explained that her mom and dad, the marriage was annulled, dad took off, they were back in poverty, but this guy did everything he could to be a good, loving, loyal boyfriend to her and make her life easier, and she treated him like complete shit, right? You would think that she would treat him like the king because he was helping her and get out of her situation. Nope. So why should she deserve any leniency? Why should she, get good treatment after the way she treated him? No way. She's a grown-ass woman. And by the way, in the previous video, I mentioned that she had an interest or was a feminist. So the strong, empowered woman can take care of herself. Anyway, I hope that information answered many of the questions that you had and the ones that the commentators posted. Apologies in advance, as this update might be a bit long. I found out quite a bit about my uncle and Sam from some relatives. I couldn't write down everything, so here are some important parts. Bro, don't worry about it. Don't worry about the time. He said, the update. I had a few cousins who did not tolerate my uncle's behavior. A few days after Sam had given me a visit, I called up one of them and asked them what the heck was going on. One of my cousins, Steph, then put me into a group chat with my anti-uncle cousins, and they explained to me why it happened during my time away from the family. The first thing I asked them was why they never said anything to defend me. While some of them had their own reasons for staying out of the conflict, most of them simply could not reach ever since I moved away and cut 90% of my contact with them. I realize now that I did have a family that cared about me. It's just that I put Sam ahead of them and shut them all out after the incident. Well, as I said in the previous video, no guy should ever make his woman, girlfriend, fiancée, even wife, the center of his universe, the top of the totem pole of importance. No freaking what. When he does, all these things that I share in these stories I go over happen. It's sad. In a perfect world, you could treat the girl you love like the queen, do all these great things for her, and she would love you equally and treat you with ultimate respect. But sadly, when you do that, that kindness is perceived as weakness, and guys are typically walked all over. Should be your purpose first, then the gym and fitness, your bros, your best circle of friends, guy friends you know you can trust and have your back, then your family, then the cat and dog, then the women. And I'm back and forth about the cat and the dog because I love animals, so I put the animals higher. But for your average Joe, you see what I'm talking about. But right there, he put her top of the totem pole. Above his purpose, above his family, the good family members. But I guarantee this guy will never do that again. The family made it very unknown that everybody really liked Sam when she was with me, but was vilified by the whole family once she got with my uncle. Sam would purposely be ignored in family gatherings, and some of my crueler relatives would blatantly gossip about her when she was an earshot away. You mean the female family members, I bet. Her only solace was some of the cousins that took pity on her and tried to strike conversations with her. Unsurprisingly, she would mostly talk about me and kept asking how I was doing and if they knew where I was. They had always played dumb and refused to answer, but she was adamant on getting in contact with me again. So even when she's with the uncle, she still wants to know what this guy is doing, right? And I can tell you why, because this guy walked away from her. That's the most powerful thing a guy can do. Not standing there and arguing or fighting, just walking away, whether it be when some bullshit starts up and she wants, instead of talking about an issue rationally like adults, she acts like a damn child, throwing a tantrum, big fight in public, guy just whoosh, walks away. Drives him crazy. Or there's a deal-breaking thing to end the relationship, the guy just packs his shit and leaves. That's it. Makes him crazy. And see right here, she's wondering about him relentlessly. Says here, she had even handed them letters and notes to pass on to me, but they never followed through. According to Steph, Sam was extremely remorseful for betraying me, but she couldn't leave my uncle because she thought she had found a real soulmate. Sure. Who just happened to be rich and can provide. Remorseful for betraying him. Bullshit. If she was remorseful, she would have done it. And she would be staying with the uncle who was her soulmate. Let's see how much of a soulmate he is if he was broke. The honeymoon phase of the relationship only lasted 2 years after getting married. I'm surprised it lasted that long. I'm surprised it lasted 2 months. Sam went from an outspoken, uplifting extrovert to a quiet, always anxious, paranoid introvert. So my uncle put in a curfew for Sam and tried to always keep her within the house. His reasoning was that if she could cheat on me, then she could definitely cheat on him. Well, your uncle's old enough to certainly understand women. Exactly. Soon Sam would go into therapy again due to her declining mental health. She eventually got better, but the relationship with my uncle was strained. According to one of the cousins, it was so bad that she wouldn't even be in the same room with him, let alone touch him. Well, if he isn't getting any from his wife, he's going to get it someplace else. My uncle did not take kindly to that, and had Sam fired from whatever campaign she was working on, basically almost ruining her career. I couldn't believe what they were saying to me. Sam was always big on gender equality and empowerment, but now she can't even stand up for herself against my uncle. Instead, taking whatever punishment he throws her way without a fight. Sam is nothing but a trophy wife at this point in her career. Interests and hobbies are all being thrown away or repressed due to my uncle. They're being repressed due to her choices. She chose to be with him. She chose to treat you like crap. She chose to use you. She chose to cheat on you with your uncle. This rich guy, rich, powerful, influential, okay? This was her actions, okay? Yes, he's doing this to her, but she got herself in this situation. But since she's so strong and empowered, she can now deal with that situation on her own. That's what being responsible is. That's what being someone that is strong and empowered, they handle these things. Last October, Sam found a string of texts between my uncle and a supposed sugar baby. He was supporting a 17-year-old student by paying her school and expenses in exchange for services. Sam immediately spread this throughout the family, hoping to get people on her side. But unfortunately for her, almost everyone had told her to keep it a secret and get over it. The same words that they said to me all those years ago when I found out about my uncle and Sam. Any of your family members that told you to get over it because your uncle was nailing your girl, Sam, back in the day, I wouldn't have anything to do with those assholes. And I'm sure they're the same exact ones that are kissing his butt for him to finance their lifestyle. Bunch of losers. Anybody that milks up anybody else to fund their life, they're a bunch of losers in my opinion. Everybody should carve out their own path in life, be the master of their own destiny, etc., etc. What you're doing, you could have easily led a life where you just mooched off your uncle and so forth, but no, you're making your own life. That's what a real man's doing, and that's cool. Anyway, my uncle was none too pleased about her spreading this information, so he had her on house arrest or something. He used COVID as an excuse to keep her at home, but he had hired people to keep Sam inside the house. Not a private security company or anything, just two big guys to babysit her. Well, she got the slip on them and met up with me, and then you know what happens next. That's what happened in the previous video. My cousins actually haven't heard from Sam ever since she was returned to my uncle. Some of them do fear he might have done something to her, but one of my cousins reassured me he saw Sam in the house just recently looking fine. After talking about Sam, they apologized to me for not being there for them, and I apologized to them for shutting them all out. Obviously, these are the family members that you like. Now I am currently trying to rebuild a relationship with some of my cousins that don't support my uncle. I've also asked them not to mention me to Sam anymore, as she made her choices years ago, and whatever problematic issues that are happening right now are the consequences of her actions. Absolutely. Absolutely. In today's world, where, let's be honest, nobody seems to have any accountability for anything. I mean, it's terrible here in the West, and the kids are raised that way, where it's not my fault. I have some issue, I have some label. I am held back because of this, or held back because of that. Therefore, I can't be accountable for my actions. It's bullshit. You're an adult, you make your bed, you lie in it. And she did. And she will have to deal with this. End of story. It's not your problem. I know obviously you're writing to, let me know and the audience know what happened and things behind the scenes, but it's not your problem. When you start making other people's, guys, pay attention to this. This is important, I have to say here. When you start inviting other people's problems into your life, you're just going to that will become your problems. So don't do that. Don't become the white knight, the hero, all that. It's nice to do things to help people, but when you're not careful, you don't have a good balancing act, their issues can become your problems. You don't need that. After hearing what happened to Sam, some part of me feels devastated that her life has gotten exponentially worse. I don't believe my uncle will allow an annulment of their marriage. Again, he has a big legal team and Sam doesn't, as it will damage his already broken reputation. It's her problem. My other relatives who are loyal to him will probably do whatever he asks as long as he funds their lifestyles. And as for the 17-year-old, she plans on keeping the child and my uncle plans on raising it. I'm not sure where Sam fits into this mess, but at this point, I do not care. Good. Look how far you've come. Because the old you most certainly would have cared. The old you would have taken her in after all that shit. But you have grown since. You learned the hard way, but you have grown since. And that's awesome. You've come so far, my man, since the tale of how things started off with her all those years ago. I do hope that Sam does get help with her situation and eventually finds peace. But that process cannot involve me. Yes, you're setting your boundaries. The only good thing that came out of this situation was that I got to reconnect with some family who are good people. SSM, if you ever read this, I just want to tell you and your viewers that karma does exist for those who betray their loved ones. Always keep up the good fight and spread the RP SSM. If I had seen your videos back when I was in college, then maybe I wouldn't have gone through so many hardships. Thank you and have a great day. Yeah, bro, I mean, I gotta tell you, I wish back when I was in college, back in my teens and 20s, YouTube existed and I had dudes on there providing entertaining shows, things that you can learn from to help me because I was clueless as can be. I had moments where I figured some things out, and I mean, I was a classic nice guy. I absolutely was, and I've said this many times in previous videos. And I'd have moments where I would get so fed up with the girls that I would do a 180 briefly and have characteristic of a bad boy. And interestingly, that's when a lot of girls were drawn to me. But that wasn't the real me, and real quickly I'd go right back to my old ways, and those girls would whoosh, lose interest. And it'd be back and forth. So I didn't know anything. I had to learn the hard way. But thank God for YouTube and the internet, so people all over the world can watch videos, hear stories, and then learn from those stories, and then and be able to like look at actions that they've done in their life and say, oh, that's where I went wrong, or that's what happened. Or tuck these stories in the back of their mind so that a situation arises that's like some of these things I talk about or similar, they'll know the better way to handle things compared to what they previously would have done. So I wish I had that too, but I didn't. So this is why I do what I do to help you guys out. And now your story and me talking about it and breaking things down will help a whole bunch of dudes all over the world that you could never, ever possibly imagine. That's what's so cool about this whole thing. But anyhow, man, it's her problem. She'll figure it out. It's not yours. But keep doing what you're doing, man. You've come so far. I'm really proud of you. Just keep focusing on your grind, moving up in your company. I know you said you're an investment manager. I think that is awesome. That's an area I really like to talk about and I really enjoy. And there you go. End of story. And use all these hard lessons to help you in life. And one day, you could probably hopefully mentor somebody else that's young and doesn't know any better and not make the same mistakes you did. This is how we help each other out. So, all right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Let this guy know what you think about this. And, guys, if you have a great story you'd like to share with me, like this guy, email me, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. Just make sure you write it out really well. Make it easy for me to read. And the stories about guys that go through hardships but then learn their lesson or come out in the end, these are the best ones. I love hearing them. You guys love hearing them. Keep them coming. Or if you have a story that you're struggling with right now, but you need help with, email me too, and I will definitely get to them down the road. Keep in mind, guys, I get bombarded with emails all the time, so I can only get so many out every day. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.